My name's Don, and we still don't have Peter with us today. He should be back tomorrow. Sorry about that, everybody. So it is just this one pleb talking about the news again. And sure enough, hello, there will be no good afternoon today because Vegas round 2. And as much as yesterday it was stop this, we don't know anything, and stop trying to turn this into a political issue. Seemingly the only people who wanted to pay attention to that were those of you who watch this channel, because everyone else on the planet immediately decided this was political. That said, before we dive into how ridiculous this has become in less than 24 hours, let's start with just some basic stats. An update to the victims, I guess, is more accurate. We have gotten to 59 dead and 527 wounded is the most current count I can find. It's not very likely it's going to go up too much from there because, well, it's been over a day. Chances are pretty good that if you're alive now, you're probably going to stay that way, but 527 is a lot of wounded, so we may still see some actual deaths out of that number. It's just less likely as time goes on. Now, outside of that, there are starting to be pictures of the weapons used, and they are from the hotel room, so it is at least alleged. It's supposedly just leaked from the investigation to a reporter, but for anybody wondering how this is going to pan out, in the realm of what they're going to go after, there are 2 M4s in that room, and one of them has a bump stock on it. So let the games begin. There will be, I'm sure, no end to the, oh my god, bump stocks mean that something, and M4s are the assault weapons that kills all the people. See, if he had only not had an assault weapon, then this would have been fine. Well, no. First of all, no. Second of all, for anyone unfamiliar with a bump stock, all it does is it's a little guard that goes, you hold your weapon like this, it's a little guard that goes in front of the trigger, right? So when the gun recoils, it pushes back into the stock, then you push forward, this pulls the trigger again, gives you a sort of automatic feeling to the weapon, but it's not an automatic weapon as per the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. However, if you are a fan of these things, understand that even such people as Ben Shapiro are coming after them right now, so chances are really good one of the things we will see out of this is bump stocks will be illegal. That said, the other weapon that is readily available there is just your standard M4, seemingly. In fact, it looks very much like this one, because it is this one. There is even the Daniel Defense marking on it. It is a completely legal weapon everywhere in the country, basically. And it has a decent optic on it, unlike mine. And it absolutely is going to be the target of every political junkie on the planet who thinks gun control is good, because despite that there are millions of these things all over the country, there somehow or another that this one guy used one means that they're all evil. And clearly, by the way, according to these people, I am going to go on a shooting spree sometime soon just because I have one. That is clearly not true. Government officials, if you ever see this, I'm not shooting anybody. Just not going to happen. Anyway, but there is also, among the leaked pictures, now keep in mind my source for this is the real Alex Jones. Yeah, it's not just Alex Jones or Twitter, it's both. So understand the source, but he seems to have a picture of the shooter dead on the floor of the hotel room. And if he hadn't posted the picture, I wouldn't even mention it, but it is there. It'll be linked in the description. Make your own decision. Just understand that it's out there. That said, there is also audio going on from somewhere, probably a police scanner that somebody recorded, I'm not really sure, of SWAT breaking into the room, and it is also going to be in the description. It's in the middle of a very long article. There is also a second shooter theory going on right now, which is to say that somebody recorded this from another angle, and basically what this seems to come down to is the gunfire sounds close, thereby it can't be the 32nd floor. Well, anyone who's ever shot at an indoor range knows that you can be pretty far away, and as long as you're in a fairly confined space, everything sounds close. A .22 pistol 100 yards away does not sound 100 yards away when you're in a confined space like that. And all of the buildings in Las Vegas, I mean, look, if you want to go all grassy knoll over just that, well then go ahead. But I'm going to need a little more evidence before I'm willing to believe there was a second shooter. And by the way, there was 2 windows. I mean, let's be honest here. It was a big suite. It is a multiple room suite. So this isn't definitive proof of a second shooter either. We're going to get some JFK action out of this. It's what's going to happen. There's not going to be any evidence because there isn't any, but anything that even vaguely looks like there will be, there even could be 2 shooters is going to be used to say that there was. So expect whatever your social media accounts are to light up with this theory because it's going to happen. Now, there is also the guy that helped the cops find the shooter's room. And apparently he's an Iraq war veteran, and he spends a decent amount of time in an interview talking about how it seemed to take a really long time, how it seemed to be that this should have been done better, faster, stronger, the $6 million breach or something. I don't know. But there is a reality that this guy should know, that when you are in a stressful situation, a minute seems like an hour. So, yeah, they probably could have gone faster, but again, depending on what this guy did, I guess if you just go running into rooms with people with automatic weapons, more people die. That's what happens. And if you want to argue that the SWAT team should have been willing to die because he was shooting at people down there in the actual amphitheater because that's their job, okay, you can make that argument. But I don't know. I'm not convinced that, well, let's all just rush in as fast as we can is always the right answer. And under the circumstances, for this one little tiny portion that none of the SWAT team was injured and the guy was dead was probably the best outcome. So, and really, by the way, to the Iraq veteran, if you ever see this, don't feel bad. You're a guy who is outside of whatever unit you used to be in, who had no help of any kind, who got cops to the guy doing the killing. You did your job and then some. So there has also started this analysis of, well, who were his targets? And since it was a country music festival, that means he was attacking conservatives and traditionalism and all that sort of thing. Well, maybe. Until, back to yesterday's entire point, until we have some idea what the motive was, stop it. You don't know. For all you know, this guy had one person in the crowd that he wanted to kill, and then he wanted to cover this up. That is not a conspiracy theory I'm advancing. I'm just saying it's possible. So, look, for everyone who's panicking about who did, who was killed and all this other sort of thing, I mean, look, for the individual peoples, yes, those are tragedies. I'm not saying they're not. But this idea that he was attacking Trump supporters, which is out there, this idea that he was killing traditionalist members of the right, which is out there, none of this has any veracity. People need to stop doing this because this is that moment where the right gets to do something that is like, hey, so we're going to politicize this for no fucking reason. And as much as Hillary Clinton was shit for doing it yesterday, anyone advancing this theory on the right today is also shit. So stop that, please. I mean, I doubt it's going to happen, but what are you going to do? Also, there has come to light that the shooter wired $100,000 to the Philippines the day before he did the shooting. So, Saturday or something like that. And this means something, clearly. Nobody knows what, but everyone has their ideas, and not the least of which is that ISIS has been kicking up work in the Philippines over the last couple of years, so clearly this brings the ISIS connection back. Well, look, maybe, but again, I want to find out why, where this money went, what it was supporting, and then we can talk about whether or not it's because of ISIS. For all you know, once again, he could just be, ironically, I guess, I don't know, feeding orphans in the Philippines. Who knows? It's a lot of money and it went somewhere, so it's going to be part of the investigation. Wait till the end, then we can discuss what it meant. Which, in the world of discussing things, Trump said something, therefore everyone hates him. This happened again. The press caught him on Trump on his way to Puerto Rico, and somebody asked him about Vegas, and he said it's really kind of a miracle what happened, and so that is just being taken by itself, even though pretty clearly, if you listen to the whole thing, what he's talking about is 22,000 people, there's a guy with automatic weapons. Yes, 59 and 527 is a lot, but I mean, this could have been a lot worse, and the police did a near miraculous job. He goes on to clarify that like 10 seconds later. So no, either you can believe that in the same clip that he says this is a terrible person with lots of mental problems and a really sick individual, he also said that the guy was a miracle. Or you can believe that Trump was doing what he always does and supporting the police. I mean, I guess it depends mostly on how much you hate Trump, but do your thing. And in the world of people saying dumb shit, maybe Twitter is bad for humanity. I'm just going to throw it out right now, because you've got people like Michael Ian Black saying things like the NRA is a terrorist organization and there's no other way to look at it. The earlier mentioned he was shooting at Trump supporters thing. Yes, people are saying that. There's a GIF of somebody clapping who is famous, whose name I can't remember right now, but it doesn't really matter. And the tweet next to it is, oh, when I found out it was country music, and, most country music fans are Trump supporters. I just, my face, and it's clapping. You're an asshole. If you're going to celebrate people dying because of your political differences, you're a piece of shit. I don't think I'm taking too heavy of a stand there. Right along with that, in the world of politicizing things, is the way that in the way that we do anyway. Jimmy Kimmel gave this speech at the beginning of the show, and he just held back tears, and it was ridiculous. Look, the guy forwards a lot of emotional arguments that don't mean anything. He makes a comparison to fires in hotels, and then starts talking about what is or is not common sense on a subject of which he clearly knows nothing about. And if you own a firearm, listening to him immediately tells you he has no idea what he's talking about. Because he does the same thing that all the lefties that want to take all the guns do. He conflates automatic and semi-automatic. He talks about how these weapons were made to kill people. He talks about how it's just terribly sad that there have been so many mass shootings, and it's a huge problem in America. Well, look, this is probably going to be pretty unpopular specifically today, but it's really not that big of a problem. Yes, each individual incident is a problem that needs to be addressed in the sense of helping the victims and doing what we can. But if you think gun violence in America is a problem, you are just wrong. There is not enough gun violence by any metric other than emotionally conflating the amount of mass shootings and that sort of thing with and changing the numbers to suit your narrative and all this kind of thing. The FBI statistics are out there. We'll probably talk about this pretty soon. But he goes on to talk about how silencers are just terrible. And I'm just going to throw this out there hard. Silencers have nothing to do with this. Not a thing. Guy didn't have one. Wouldn't have helped him anyway. Wouldn't have done anything different. Really, it would not matter. In fact, it probably would have impeded him, all things considered. So whatever. But anything to go after gun control in the wake of a crisis, because never let a crisis pass without political gain, obviously. So he spends some time talking about how there's a bill right now that is going to make it easier to get silencers going through Congress, which, yes, I know for all of my gun fans out there, they are suppressors. They don't silence anything. Another thing he doesn't seem to know. But I'm paraphrasing Jimmy Kimmel, so give me a little bit of a break here. And then he goes on to bitch about the people in Congress who are saying that this is okay and paint the right as hating America or whatever and just enjoying the bloodbaths. And he's not alone in this, but he is an idiot and an asshole for doing it. So I almost don't even know what to say to most of this. I mean, I've tried to keep my editorialization down a little bit, but it's only because there was a lot to cover. I think the most important thing I can say about this is that anyone right now that is talking to you about how this means we need gun control today is specifically asking you to ride your emotions, do something that is knee-jerk and feels good in the wake of something terrible. They're not asking you to examine facts or data or trends or any of those things. They have a goal and they want to trick you into giving it to them. And that's what it comes down to. It's not a debatable issue, really, because the pure and simple fact of the matter is, if this was the issue they wanted it to be, last Thursday, when this bill still existed in Congress, they would have been screaming about it. And they weren't. But now that there's something to capitalize on, now that there's an emotional will of the people, now's the time. Anyway, I don't think that voting right at that particular... I mean, for all the same reasons that you don't make large life choices when something terrible happens in your life. Well, I mean, is writing policy any different, right? I mean, you would think this would be clear and obvious, but apparently it's not. Also, for anybody who is running around screaming, and if you go to social media, this is what you find, that you can get an automatic weapon easier than you can get an abortion or a pet or on a passport or any of that other shit. This is simply not true. And again, anyone who has bought a gun knows this. You have to go through less work to get any of those things than you do to get a gun. And somebody is invariably gonna, gun show loophole. Well, if that's what you think, but I mean, if that's what we're talking about, which is to say a private transaction in which one person sells a gun to another, then when I go get a dog from my neighbor, I don't need to do anything. And when I go get a passport made from someone who forges passports, evidently, because the only place you can legally get them is the government, then I don't have to do anything. You know, to have an abortion, I don't have to do anything. In fact, it's one of the things the right complains about all the time, is that you don't so much as need an ID to get an abortion. And if you've ever bought a gun, you know that you need at least an ID. And I know, gun show loophole. But the one other thing that is universally different is you can get all of those things for less than the cost of a gun. Pretty much, period. And look, if you know someone who's selling full auto AK-47s out of the back of their house for $50, let me know, because that'd be nice, but I'm just saying it's not a thing. And all of this conflation is just bullshit, but I think that's going to about do it today. And I normally don't end on such a clear out, but I'm going to take our usual outro out, and I'm going to leave you with some of the better stories of the things that come out of Vegas. Some of the "This is America" moments, because the people who did heroic things here, this is America. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, bud. Hey, right now, we need your truck. We just need to get people over to the hospital, okay?
Okay, go ahead. Put them all in the back.
Okay. Can you pull over towards the side over there? You know what? This person right here. Hold up.
You're welcome, baby. You're welcome. You guys stay safe.
How we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be heroes and you will be queen. Though nothing will drive us away, how we can be heroes just for one day. How we can be us just for one day. Standing by the wall, and the guns shout above our heads, and we kiss as though nothing could fall. And the shame is on the other side. Only can beat them forever and ever, and we can be heroes just for one day.
One man, 29-year-old Sonny Melton, had traveled from Tennessee to Las Vegas for the concert with his wife, Heather. When the bullets began raining down from above, Sonny shielded her from danger, selflessly giving up his life to save hers. They'd been married for just over a year. Others risked their own lives to save people that they had never met. Mike McGarry of Philadelphia laid on top of students at the concert to protect them from the gunfire. They're 20, I'm 53, he said, and I've lived a good life. Lindsay Paget and her fiancé, Mike J., fled for cover during the attack and immediately returned to the scene with their pickup truck to help transport the wounded to nearby hospitals. Gail Davis, who was attending the concert with her husband, said she owes her life to a brave police officer who instinctively served as a human shield, protecting her from harm. Sadly, multiple police officers, both on duty and off duty, were among those killed or injured. But what these people did for each other says far more about who we are as Americans than the cowardly acts of a killer ever could. The Gospel of John reminds us that there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for a friend. The memory of those who displayed the ultimate expression of love in the midst of an unimaginable act of hate will never fade. Their examples will serve as an eternal reminder that the American spirit cannot and will not ever be broken.